guys? Welcome to Fantasy Effect episode 113. We got an NFC South Preview. We do have our own free Discord, a Patreon as well. DM us if you guys are interested on Twitter and or Blue Sky. And please like, comment, and subscribe. Holler and McSpanky are with me tonight. How is it going tonight, guys?
It's going, man. We're in the dog days of summer. It's hot.
About to get real boring.
Next month, football is going to start though, at the end of next month. So we're
yeah.
I mean, some football, not like real with like the pads and stuff yet. But the guys will be reporting.
Yeah, but it's like the first week of June. Like, I'm nervous. This is when bad decisions get made on rosters.
Yeah, that's fair. We get some boredom, trades going on, and you start shipping away.
I was already
because you're just like, oh, I don't know, let's shake things up. I totally get that.
Right. I feel like I've been a little more active like the last couple of weeks than I had, prior. Like I thought I'd be more active like around NFL draft and then rookie draft, but no, it was like post rookie draft. Like trying to iron out your rosters and move guys off that people are high on, and try to get some guys that you think personally are gonna do well or have a better like future. It's kind of where my head's been at.
Yeah, it's definitely easier once that NFL draft and free agency are out of the way to kind of make clearer moves and kind of plant your flag a little bit more on somebody. Had you planted your flag on Najee before the draft, you're probably not feeling so great now.
I think Najee still has some value, though, don't you think?
No, I do. Like, Najee will always have a job. There's always a job for Najee Harris in the NFL and the rest of the Najee Harrises of the world, and that's the problem.
Sure.
There's 10 other Najee Harrises out there in the NFL,
There's only one Najee Harris in my heart.
Hey, right, there is. And you know what? If somebody else grew dreads, they can be just like him and Jamal Williams. We can just look real sweet running. Hope you got a good offensive line, and it works well.
Fair.
But yeah. Speaking of Jamal Williams, let me segue into some a former Lion who used to run behind another former Lion now. Frank Ragnow has retired. You guys like how I got those connections in there? Wow.
I was nervous when you started doing the segue. I was like, I don't know how this is going to connect, but you really drove it home, and I appreciate it. I did. Dude, what's going on in Detroit? All your stars retire before they turn 30. What's going on up there, man?
So this one isn't all that surprising to me personally, with how much I follow the team. There's been murmurs for about 3 years that this is going to happen.
Oh, okay.
And I think when you look at their draft and you can look at some of the comments made by GM Brad Holmes and head coach Dan Campbell at like spring meetings and things like that, and they're really talking up Graham Glasgow and him playing center. They go out and they draft a couple guards in the draft. One guy they're already moving over, Tate Ratledge, to play cross train at center. Yeah, I showed you guys his Raz card, and then kind of tied along with the Lions selection. We kind of really like that, seeing that athleticism tied with, what the Lions have done with their draft picks, that seems really good. Not to say that there's not going to be some growing pains. Frank was an all-pro center. So I think the early goings could be, a little bit rougher on the edges, what we're used to, but, we're still talking about a highly potent offense that still has Penei Sewell, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Ross St. Brown, Jameson Williams, and, Sam Laporta out there going on. So I think that they'll still be okay. And as like Greg said, Glasgow can play center as well if Ratledge is not ready. And they also signed another center depth body today too. So
Oh, go ahead, Holler.
I was just going to say, so what I'm hearing is to move off of Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery.
trade them all with me for free. Yeah. Get them all out. Get him out of there. Get him over to Ron. He needs more.
I was just going to say, are you worried at all for less about Jahmyr Gibbs? Because I think he can kind of work behind any kind of offensive line, but more about like Montgomery. If the line's not as, and Jared Goff to some extent, right? Because we've seen what he does when he's not behind a crystal clean pocket, right? Especially like early in the season, there's some like growing pains with, breaking in a rookie on the starting five. They lost, what was that other cards over the offseason? And I know they have that. Lightwear, thank you. So now you have two new starters on that front five.
Well, so on that end, they drafted Mahogany last year. He was a rookie last year. He fell to the 6th round. The reason he fell to the 6th round was medical reasons.
Gotcha.
Had he had the medical reasons, he would have been a 2nd round draft pick. And basically, he started in 2 games, one of which was the playoff game where they still scored 50 whatever flipping points. So could you have told me that there was somebody else on the field in that game? Kind of thing with him. That's how I've looked at it with Mahogany, is like I haven't seen a difference out there with him on the field. So far so good with him as long as he stays healthy. I think he's a pretty good player, and I think he has swing guard ability. I've seen him come in, somebody gets dinged up during a game, he'll come in for a series here or there, left and right side of the field. So I think that they have enough versatility between Graham Glasgow training Tate Ratledge at guard and center. I'm pretty sure Ratledge played guard in college. And then so he'll have both guard and center. And then they have like another guy on the roster that can play guard and center as well. So between those 3 guys, they should be able to bang out a startable, like formidable offensive line. Like it might not be the top tier, but I still expect top 10 offensive line play, honestly.
And thank you for tuning in to the
Lions podcast.
Thank you.
Apparently.
I was just going to say, thank you for tuning in to the Wednesday night Detroit Lions podcast.
You knew it would happen. Frank retired. There's nothing else to talk about.
I even hesitated putting him on the news because I knew Ron was gonna trigger Ron into like some kind of huge Lions spiel, but I had to do it.
I really wanted to get as much of a fantasy aspect of it, on there as I could, because it is a big deal. He was an all-pro player, and expect to see maybe a couple times you're like, what the heck's going on here? There might be a couple games where it doesn't look real great, to start the season. That's all I say.
Yeah.
And Glasgow has played center for us since Dan Campbell has been there, and he has filled in for Ragnow, and he's done just fine doing it. He's not Frank, but you wouldn't be like, oh my God, he's lost. We can't play, football anymore because Frank's not here. Like they're still fine.
Sure.
Yeah. So okay. I'm not big into the Lions, but I think the biggest change is going to be that offensive coordinator, and then this is just adding a little bit of layers there. I think they're all going to be just fine. I think maybe we'll see a little bit of, the first couple games a little bit slow, right? But I think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to get his. Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to get his, So I just think there might be a little bit, possibly like a buy window for like Montgomery. Because maybe he'll be the one that, like you said earlier, Spanky is like, I think he might be the one that is a little bit slower, right? They might be a little bit, I don't really want to say worse, but like a little bit worse in the red zone, right? Because when you have those good big bodies in the front with the offensive line, that really is what makes you really good in the red zone, right? So I think those are the areas we'll see the difference.
These are some other big bodies that they brought in.
I think Montgomery's already kind of a buy.
Yeah, no, he is super cheap.
People forget, because he was injured the last 3 games of the season, and Jahmyr Gibbs just went nuclear, right? That people are just, they kind of like expect that from Gibbs all of the time, but it's like Montgomery's going to get his carries. Like he's a good running back. They paid him a decent amount of money. Like he gets goal line touches too. Like Montgomery doesn't just like forget how to play football. He's a good player. So
easily the best 1-2 punch in the game.
I think so.
Oh, thanks, Holler. I'm so glad. I'm so happy.
I don't think anyone else really comes close.
There's nowhere close. Yeah, right. For sure.
Yeah.
At least not offhand. I'm sure someone's going to scream at us later, but that's all I can think of.
We need JMO to do like one more like explosive year, and then our wide receivers.
All right, let's
stay off the
anyway.
All right.
Yeah, please. Gosh, get me off the lines. Anyway, so Jonnu possibly to the Steelers. These are all just rumors and boredom speak. So
Arthur Smith couldn't fathom an offense without Johnny Smith. He just can't do it. So
there's no way. There's no way Miami does this. He was almost like their best offensive player last year.
Well, they might, because he's up for a contract and he's older. Miami's kind of going through like a transition. I don't think they necessarily want to pay Jonnu Smith. Like I could see them shipping him off. And I think the Dolphins, they ran the offense through Jonnu Smith last year because they didn't have an offensive line. They're kind of transitioning that offense too. They brought in some new beef up front. I think they're going to transition the offense more back to like Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Waddle's someone I actually really like, so I could see Johnny taking a step back if he is in Miami, but I could also see him just shipping him off to try to get some cap relief. So
yeah, if he goes to the Steelers, like that's just the end of Johnny. Yeah,
that's bad,
right? Like there was a couple startups I got him super late. I was like, nice, this is going to be really good. But if he moves away from the Dolphins, I think that's checkmate. But I think even so, if he stays there, I think we're going to see a bit of a difference, right? I don't think Tyreek Hill was right. I don't think Waddle was right. So I think we're going to see a bit of a different offense. I don't think that's bad for Waddle. I know others think it's bad for Waddle, but I personally don't think it is. And
I like Waddle. I think he's a value right now too.
You'll see in a few minutes. I acquired 2 Waddle shares.
Yeah, he did.
And then the last little bit of rumors is Dobbins was visiting with Denver, which would not be good for RJ Harvey, and mainly wouldn't be good for Estime, I think, because
it's Estime mostly. Yeah.
I don't. Does he really do what Estime does?
Yes.
I think so. More than he overlaps with Harvey, in my opinion.
And Dobbins doesn't fumble like Estime does. So.
I mean, well, maybe this time he can hold on to the ball. I do find that one a bit interesting. Could just be a camp body. Obviously, Dobbins.
It's possible.
I would guess that Dobbins has gathered interest, but he's probably trying to pick his spot so he can get onto the field and not have to sit and wait. I would guess he's a late signing somewhere after an injury or something along those lines for him at this point. But yeah, like it is interesting that they were willing to bring like somebody of I don't want to say of Dobbins' caliber, but I mean he had a pretty good season last year. He was a solid runner last year, and you're probably stepping into a similar, similar offensive line, at least in similar play style in Denver. So there is opportunity, and maybe through OTAs they took their looks at RJ Harvey and they're like maybe he's not quite ready yet.
Those people that
if J.K. Dobbins is scaring you off of Harvey, then Harvey wasn't the guy.
No, I'm not.
No,
I'm not scared. I'm not scared. I'm just saying it's interesting.
Sounds like you're scared.
I'm not scared. I'm not scared at all. I'm just saying it's interesting, and it's making me just at least keep my eye on if they start bringing in more running backs.
I got you.
Just kind of keep seeing what roster moves they make.
For me, Harvey was just going too high, right? That has nothing to do with me liking or disliking Harvey. I just felt like he was going a little too high for or he was already taken before I could pick, which there was probably equal amount of that, right? So I would love to think all my teams I was picking late first, but unfortunately there were plenty that I wasn't. So yeah, either, I just wasn't in that spot or I just felt it was too early. Like I only have, I think 1 or 2 shares of Harvey. So I don't think Dobbins is going to scare anything of Harvey that like RJ Harvey's still going to get his, right? But I do think it's not great. It makes me open my eye a little bit since they're like going out and trying to sign somebody.
Like, what are you guys doing over there? What's going on?
Dobbins is more of a threat to take away some volume than Estime is, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing. Is I think it does cap Harvey's ceiling a little bit, at least initially. Estime, I mean,
I don't think anybody really thought Estime was it outside of. I don't think Spanky thought this either, but he
had some hopes.
He had hopes because he came from.
It died on draft night, but I had hopes. Yeah.
So
I still I still think he's the bruiser in the offense, to be honest with you. But
I mean, you have to hold on to the ball to be a bruiser.
We'll see.
He runs so hard he drops the ball. So what are you gonna do?
Sean spoke pretty highly of him recently, but
does he not speak highly of anyone? I swear.
I was just going to say
every time I hear a quote, he's hyping
Sean
up
Payton.
Mims.
I did listen. Did you not hear the last part of my sentence? Did you not hear the last part of my sentence where I trailed off and said, "But it is Sean"? So.
Oh well, no, I didn't.
He talked good about his ex-wife or something. That guy talks good about every single person. So
no way, nobody does that.
No, he would.
All right. Do you want to embarrass us with this blind resume now?
It's not embarrassing. It's fun.
Dude,
it's fun.
It doesn't. Oh, God. It gives me so
can't embarrass the sensei. Don't worry.
In this thing. Oh God!
All right, yeah, Sensei, tell us who each player is.
Sensei, you're gonna guess. All right, so I have 2 wide receivers for both of you. All right, the wide receiver 1 averaged 6.6 targets a game, right? 3.3 receptions, about 58 yards a game last year, and he scored a touchdown in half of his games. He had a points per game of 12.63 PPR points per game. Wide receiver 2, 6.5 targets a game, so a little bit less. 4.3 receptions per game, so about a reception more. 62 yards per game, so about 4 more yards than receiver 1.
Wait a second.
He scored a touchdown in 0.24 touchdown rate. So basically every 4 games he scored 1 touchdown. He had a points per game of 12.32, so just a little bit less. So they're basically even, right? Basically, wide receiver 1 took 1 less catch, had a few more yards, more touchdowns.
Give me wide receiver 1 all day.
Yeah, you did. Ron, who do you want? And do you have guesses of who's who?
I'm gonna stump the Sensei, but
I'm probably gonna take wide receiver 2 because I'll take the more receptions, yards.
Sure. I mean, it's 4 more yards, but yes.
Much. Yeah. Hey, listen, we're splitting hair. We're splitting hairs between one more these 2 players here. I got to do something.
Point. Come on.
We're splitting hairs here between these 2. Come on now.
You guys have any guesses of who's who?
Dude, no.
Is one being drafted in round 2 and the other one drafted in round 8?
One's being drafted around 6. One's being drafted around 13.
Is one of them Mike Evans?
It seems a little. One of them is not Mike Evans. That is not.
Is this a Darnell Mooney tweet?
It's not. I should have though. But we talked about Mooney too late in the day.
We did. It was very late in the day that I brought this to you. Yeah. I don't have any.
Yeah, I'm stumped as well.
I'm pretty stumped.
Man. Wide receiver 1 is our boy from the Saints, Rashid Shaheed.
Oh,
and so that's why I had to do a points per game because we only played like 6 games last year. And then wide receiver 2 is the gadget man himself, Zay Flowers.
Oh,
so Zay Flowers. Basically, my takeaway from this is Zay Flowers is basically drafted like he's hot shit, but essentially he's Shaheed. And that was all I was getting at with this one, right? Is that like Zay Flowers is a fun name, but
makes fun of me all the time.
He's fancy Rashid Shaheed. So what are you gonna do?
Wow, it comes full circle.
What are you gonna do? It did come full circle.
Gosh, we just had to poop on Zay Flowers. We just
the gadget man himself.
I'm not pooping on him. I'm just saying, why are you taking fancy Shaheed 7 rounds ahead of him as wide receiver 22? He's going ahead of Terry McLaurin. He's going ahead of DJ Moore, Jordan Addison, DK Metcalf, Jalen Waddle, J-Mo. There's he shouldn't be going ahead of.
I'll give you some very good. Let me give you some very good reasons at this point in time.
Okay.
At this point in time, Shaheed's coming off a torn ACL. He no longer has the previous regime there that was putting him on the field, pushing the ball down the field. And we have Tyler Shugg. They have Tyler Shugg out there playing quarterback. Shugg, whatever his name.
I have a rebuttal.
Hopefully he can shuck it down the field. I hope he can because I do like Shaheed. I do like Shaheed. I love the deep shots. But there is a lot of question marks versus what Zay Flowers is going to walk into and be basically the wide receiver 1 for his team.
Okay, so I have a quick rebuttal. 1, on Shaheed, who's getting on the field ahead of him?
Outside of Olave, yeah.
Outside of Olave. And we can talk about Olave's ability to stay on the field all we want, but like who's getting on the field ahead of him? Like Bud Means, Kevin Austin, Cedric Wilson?
No, dude.
Dante Pettis?
I understand. It's completely on. It's completely on the ACL.
Even if they don't like him, they have
ACL and Shugg. It's on the ACL. It's Shugg. It's Kellen Moore. There's just a lot of moving parts right now going on for Rashid Shaheed, and I'm not comfortable taking him anywhere or acquiring him. I understand what you're saying, and I would love for it to work out for Rashid Shaheed because he was super fun when he was good last year. But like, there's a non-zero chance that Shugg sucks and Kellen Moore is a terrible head coach, and they can't get anything off the ground because they have zero money.
Yeah. So I think this, in my opinion, I read this more of like it's more about Zay Flowers than it is about Shaheed. I just feel like Zay Flowers is going a lot too high. I'd take a lot of those wide receivers that you said, like DK Metcalf, Mm-hmm. I might even take JMO over Zay Flowers, right? But and also in a lot of the startups this offseason I didn't really target Zay Flowers at all. I just felt like he was a little too high. I know I said back in the day he's just a gadget guy, but I think he's a very good gadget guy, right? But this, like, if I was a little smarter and thought about this a little bit longer, I probably could have said, hey, 12.3 points. Yeah, that probably is like Zay Flowers. That's about what he gets, right? And if you think back, it's like, wow, I mean, he usually gets me about 60 yards. He rarely gets a touchdown. So I think if anything, a little bit too much argument about Shaheed versus Flowers. I think in general, it's more of just like, okay, Zay Flowers might be a little overvalued.
Sure. I mean, Zay Flowers is a great wide receiver 3. He's like very consistent, and he is what he is. But like Shaheed gives you like the league week winning upside, because he can catch one deep ball and he's done so.
And to the house. When I draft Zay Flowers, like I draft him.
Like, do you ever feel good about it?
I don't feel great about it, but I don't feel like it's usually like, I guess I'll take Zay here because I know that the volume's going to be good. He'll be a part of a good offense, and there's the off chance that we get a spike. You hit a spike here, or something along those lines with Zay Flowers, because what he's a part of is so much better than what Rashid Shaheed is a part of, and I think that's why you take Zay Flowers earlier. Lamar Jackson, the Baltimore Ravens, like. He is, that team's wide receiver 1. I understand.
They go to the tight ends in the red zone. Like, I understand. Got touchdowns. Is that
no. There's definitely detractors to his thing, but I'm going to take the safety earlier.
Sure, he's definitely a lot safer. Yeah, I'll give you
that. And that's more where I'm leaning. If I'm going to take something young, I want something young, part of a good organization behind a good offense, and it's at least going to safely produce for me.
I get that 100%, especially, the side of pass catcher catching passes from an NFL MVP compared to a 40-year-old rookie in Tyler Shuck.
Exactly.
But I get that, but for a 7-round price difference, I don't know if I get it. It feels like it's just way too expensive.
I agree.
Especially the guys he's going around, right? Like in the 6th round, you could also take like Kenneth Walker. For a different position. There's like RJ Harvey's going in the 6th round. Dak Prescott, Bryce Young is going in there. Like,
I'm not taking Bryce Young. Like, I don't see this.
Okay.
Let's talk about who's going around Zay Flowers more.
That was the names I just said.
I know.
Ron is spicy tonight. I like it.
I was feeling it.
No, say him again though. Just so
so in the 6th round, I'll just give you the full 6th round. Derrick Henry, Warren, Flowers, Kenneth Walker, Prescott, Bryce Young,
right here.
Aaron McLaurin, really Loveland, Caleb Johnson, George Kittle, RJ Harvey, Chris Olave, DJ Moore is at the top of the 7th with like Addison, Ibuka, Hawkinson, Chuba Hubbard. So like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I just think Flowers is so overpriced.
Listen, I can argue some of those names, and I can argue against some of those names. Being where they are, I think is the thing, and that's kind of what we always know about ADP is it's not everybody's ADP. It's a consensus of a whole ton of people taking these, and everybody that loves Zay Flowers in drafts pushes this up, and everybody that hates him in drafts pushes this down. You know what I mean? So. I don't know, but I do agree with you guys. He's definitely overvalued, but I'm okay with the overvaluing based off of the security that I feel like I'm.
You're paying wide receiver 2 prices for a wide receiver 3, and I just don't.
Yeah,
I don't like it. It doesn't sit well with me. Like, if I'm going to take a wide receiver 2 in that range, give me McLaurin, because I mean he was like wide receiver like 10 last year, or like Addison, and because he scores touchdowns, he gives you the boom weeks. DK Metcalf, same thing. Waddle, I think, has a better bounce back candidate. Jameson Williams, George Pickens, all those guys I think are have a better ceiling.
I would JMO in a heartbeat, but I already have too much JMO. I just went and check if I could go do that. There's no way I can withstand.
I like these blind resumes. Like they're pretty eye popping, right? And I mean, you could pick like
it gets me all hot and bothered.
Any position.
Since they hot and bothered, that's why I do it.
Yeah. So. All right. Next player we can crap on here.
Oh, speaking of, so I made a trade, and then Holler, I think you made some trades you want to talk about too. So a trade I did yesterday, I traded away Roma Dunze, and in return, I got what I think is the better Chicago Bear and DJ Moore. So kind of a rare 1-for-1 swap on the same team, even. What do you guys think about Moore and Dunze?
I'm with you. I think DJ Moore is the better wide receiver. I was not super high on Rome coming out. So I'm in that same position. I think he landed on an okay spot. I think there's a lot of people that think DJ Moore is going to be out the door like next season possibly, but I just don't see it. Right. To me, I know people are like, oh, we had a bad attitude last year. It's like, who on Chicago had a good attitude last year? Come on. Right. So that's
no one.
Yeah. So that's more where I'm at. And then, I just think right now Rome is very high, ranking. And so I just think, in my opinion, if he has a couple bad games or he has a mediocre year, you're going to lose on that value. Right. So I think move him now. I think he did drop just a little bit and kind of maybe regress to kind of more the mean, right? He was like almost all the way up to like 103, 104. And then they got Loveland, they got Burden. So, and the couple trades I did, I only had 3 shares of Rome. I'm down to 1. Jalen Waddle. I got Jalen Waddle and Ken Walker for Roma Dunze and James Cook. I think it's pretty even. I'm just a little worried about Roma Dunze, and I'm also a little worried about James Cook sitting out at all. I think a lot of times when running backs sit out, they have a lot of lingering issues, right? And then the other one was Jalen Waddle, Xavier Leggett, David Njoku, and then this is a Debbie, so I got Jackson Arnold, which I just kind of wanted to throw that in there. I don't really think he's going to be anything in the NFL, but I traded away Dalton Kincaid and Roma Dunze. So,
yeah, that was more for me. That's more about Njoku and Waddle.
Totally.
And look at and Jackson kind of more throw-ins.
Yeah, I was
honestly Arnold, by the way, he's an Oklahoma quarterback. Auburn. He was an Oklahoma. He transferred.
Jackson Arnold, Auburn. But I was, recently looking at some things, and he's probably got a short leash with Auburn because they have a really good incoming freshman.
He got benched at one SEC school. He can do it again. So
yes. So that had really not much to do with the trade. I just wanted another little throw in there, and then it got sent back to me with Njoku and Dalton Kincaid, and I was like, no problem.
Honestly, that's probably an upgrade. Njoku's awesome. Too. Dalton Kincaid hasn't done anything in the NFL.
I know.
And
I know
that he does. But
I know there's a lot of people worried about Njoku because we don't know what quarterback's going to be in Cleveland. But to me, he's the number one.
Has he had a quarterback the whole time he's been in Cleveland? Is what I would my argument there.
So I felt good about both those trades. So
well done.
And I also actually went out and was looking at, can I just flip Rome for DJ Moore as well? And it just didn't work out.
People don't like DJ Moore for whatever reason. I think it's because he's a little bit older.
With DJ Moore.
He produces awesome. He's very undervalued according to the market.
So the thing on your trade, Spanky, to DJ Moore for Roma Dunze is I feel like DJ Moore's the floor and Roma Dunze's the ceiling. You know what I mean? If a Dunze hits, it becomes, huge for a Dunze. No, and I'm just saying
I get what you're saying. I don't think he will, but it wouldn't be. I know what your beliefs.
I know what your beliefs are. I know what your beliefs are. So it's totally fine for you and totally on brand or whatever. I'm just saying that DJ Moore is the floor and it's going to be points this year. I mean, but Dunze is that ceiling. If you're shooting for it, and we know the guy who's shooting for it.
I think most people would probably take a Dunze over DJ Moore. I think that's more of you want the young, new, shiny toy as opposed to the one that gives you points and is boring. But I would rather. That's going to come out wrong. So I was just going to say I'd rather acquire players that help me win a league rather than win a trade, and that's what I was trying to say. But I couldn't figure out a way to say that not sounding like an asshole, so I trailed off and I said it anyways. So what are you gonna do?
Oh well.
I mean, at the end of the day,
a lot of dumb
it's
stuff.
whoever scores more points wins, right? So that's kind of where I'm at as well.
Thanks, John Madden.
You play to win the game.
You got it.
I was going to bring up my hypothetical trade that we talked about for like a few hours, that Laporta McBride one, but like we're like a half hour in, so I don't think we should get into that.
Yeah, we should probably actually hit
that for like a whole day. We should get to the topic of the show. If you got NFC South Preview, I won't say that. They played AFC East and NFC West this year in crossover play. Tampa Bay Buccaneers were 10-7 last year. Lost the Commanders in the wild card round. They're projected to win 9.5 games, and I would guess that they are going to go over the 9.5, like clockwork for Tampa.
Yeah, I'm taking the over as well. I was like just scrolling and looking at these teams. I was like, okay, that team's not very good. Okay, that team's not very good. Okay, that team's not very good. Okay, this whole division sucks.
There should be a lot of scoring in this division. I don't think any of the four play any kind of solid defense. I think Tampa probably has the best bet to put together a semblance of a defense, but even then, I still don't think it's like great. Baker Mayfield's quietly, dude. He's put together like 2 top 5 quarterback seasons back to back. Like he's awesome. And the Bucky Irving, man, he was fantastic in the season last year. Now, once he took over that backfield, he was like, I mean, he was a league winner, right? And once he took over, so the offense is exciting. The pass catchers are a little dicey because they added in Emeka Egbuka. Yeah, but I still think Evans is going to get his. I think Godwin will probably get his too, and then I think Egbuka kind of starts taking some of the work that I think Kate Otten was getting by default last year because they didn't have like a true number 3, and I think Egbuka is going to do that. Yeah, and better just because he's a much better player. Yeah.
So I was I really like Emeka Egbuka, and I don't think Jalen McMillan's like this all-world wide receiver or whatever, right? Yeah. He's fine, right? I just was like quietly hoping that they didn't pick up a wide receiver in the draft. Just
what about the one guy that woke up pissed off all the time? Sorry, Howard.
Trey Palmer.
Yeah, Trey Palmer.
I think his day's
way down there. Yeah. But McMillan played so well last year when he had the opportunity. So
I scored a jillion touchdowns.
Yeah, so that's what I was just gonna say. Most of his points came via the touchdown. So I don't know if Chris Godwin really is going to be fully healthy. I'm waiting to see how that is, and the more we see about that, I think that will be more of like what we'll see from Egbuka. I think moving forward, like down the line, Egbuka is the wide receiver out of this group that you want. And then I think Otten, I'm right there with you. I don't think he's this all-world tight end either. I think just the volume was there last year, and he scored some touchdowns. I think Otten's a guy that you would like. If I think you're probably a little bit late on it now, but if you could move off of him, that would be my suggestion.
Fell bass backwards into production because half the Tampa Bay roster was injured last year, and Otten was just out there, and he's like the one that knew the offense. So I think the only like real concern, I think we kind of know a lot of who the main players are going to be. I think the only concern really is they lost Liam Cohen, right? The offensive coordinator goes to Jacksonville. They promoted a guy in-house, so I think the offense is going to look mostly the same. Do we see any downgrades there just because it is a new play caller? Even if it's the same offense, there's some guys that are have a better feel for the game and can call plays and set up the offense. Do we have any kind of issues with that, like any kind of a downturn there, or do we still feel pretty good? It should be mostly the same.
I feel pretty good, to be honest. My biggest issue with the Bucs is still their head coach Todd Bowles doing dumb things, dumb game management things, right? And I think that's the biggest issue, but I still think, Baker's going to get his, Bucky's going to get his, and then we know what Mike Evans is. And I think after that, the rest will kind of shuffle itself out. I think Godwin is probably the second best there, but maybe he's not fully healthy, and maybe McMillan has a couple good games in the beginning. And then Egbuka was going to be the one, down the stretch, I think. And then, Rashad White, I think, is just going to be kind of sprinkled in a bit, right? I think he'll be fine as maybe like a buy, like fill in, but I don't think he's going to get much.
Like, I think he's still going to get some carries, right? I think because he's still a good player. I don't think you're ever gonna. I think he's gonna have games where he's good and usable. I don't think you're ever gonna necessarily know when that game is. So, like, if you have him on like a basketball team where there's automatically sets the lineup for you, then he's fine because he'll probably still score some touchdowns. He'll get some some games like that, or maybe he'll get a couple series where they're like he's like in a 2-minute drill and he catches a few balls and gets some nice points. But I don't think you're ever gonna feel good about being like, oh, okay, I'm gonna start Rachaad White this game. You know what I mean? So like. I think he has value, but it's primarily as like a handcuff. As like if something happens to Bucky, then like, oh yeah, Rachaad White's gonna smash because we've seen him do it before.
Yeah.
Yep. Agreed. That's what I said. Like he'll be sprinkled in, and I think mainly it's just either definitely good best ball, but like if you have to start him when buys come around, then that's kind of where I'm at. I don't think I really will play him. He's you don't want him to be one of your top 4 options at running back.
No, you're right. Gonna have a bad time.
Yeah, it's a bad time. Rachaad. All right, let's get down to the Atlanta Falcons.
The Dirty Birds.
We'd go up from Florida, but they were 8-9, missed the playoffs. They're projected to win 7.5 this year. I'm gonna take the under.
Interesting.
Under. I have a high degree of confidence in this team, and that's mainly on the defensive side of the ball. And I don't think
the defense is bad. Michael Penix could be bad.
Yeah, I do.
Both are bad. That's bad.
So, like, all right, let's start with Penix. Right? I think that's the biggest question, right? Is so he started 3 games to end the year last year. The game against the Giants, 202 yards, 1 interception, no touchdowns, not great. Week 17 against the Commanders, he had 223 yards, a touchdown, and interception. It's okay. And then the Carolina Panthers in Week 18, he lit them up. But, I mean, to be fair, almost everybody lit up the Panthers.
That's a real murderer's row defense out there.
Yeah, and even then, he still threw an interception. So in his 3 starts, he threw an interception every game. He threw 3 touchdowns. 2 of those were against Carolina in the last week of the season. So you could spin this as many ways as you want. You could say, 1, the Carolina Panthers defense sucked, so he torched them. Or you could spin it as like, hey, kind of got better as he got more starts. I think there's some truth to both sides of those.
They could have been protecting him in the early starts as well too, when he only throws for 200 yards. What were the attempts in those games?
Right, they're probably a lot of like scripted, like quick throws, like easy. Let
me get it out. We just want to get through here. We don't want to ruin you.
I think the issue I have with Penix, I think he'll be fine in terms of like a game management for the Falcons. I think the offense will be fine mostly. I think the issue is that like if he's going to be fantasy relevant because he doesn't run the ball, like he's going to have to just like throw at such a high clip efficiency and throw for at least 30 touchdowns, which I don't see that in the range of outcomes, barring just like a major progression through the offseason, which is possible. If we're talking likelihood, I think it's more he's in the 20 to like 23 touchdown range. And then he's basically like a really low end QB2, high end QB3 at that point.
Yep. That's I agree 100%. Like their defense, I just pulled up their depth chart of defense. There's like so many holes. There's like 3 players on their line of first. So that's like your first string.
Yeah.
There's like 3 players on that line. So I think a lot of Penix's yards is going to be like when they're losing and they have to throw the ball, right? I don't think those are going to result into touchdowns, unfortunately. But I think this offense is going to run through Bijan, running and receiving. But I think Drake London is still going to get his, and I think option number 3 in my opinion is Darnell Mooney. It's not Kyle Pitts.
I agree. Yeah, I think Kyle Pitts is honestly. I think Kyle Pitts might be on his way out.
Yes.
There's been some trade rumors, and then
I don't think he's that hurt.
They're keeping him in.
I don't think he's that hurt
with one of these these foot sprains.
Let's just make sure you don't get fully hurt, bud.
I think that's a lot of it. I think they're just like, hey, we might be trading you. You're not going to F this up by letting you get hurt. So
I feel like there's something in the works.
I just think there's something spooky going on.
Just trade Jonnu and Kyle Pitts. I'm good with that, right?
Yeah.
Would be fun.
But
I think Darnell Mooney. I like Mooney. We kind of had this conversation earlier about if you take Mooney or the 210. I said the Mooney side was a smash, but our sensei didn't like that. So
so I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight now.
Have I talked you into the other side yet?
No.
Oh, totally.
No. Oh, I've talked you into it, Holler?
A little bit, yeah. Okay. Especially when I went and looked at it.
That's all I wanted to know is if I could lay it out as if I had a good enough argument to at least make it.
Oh, it was a good argument.
Okay.
But
I'm just stubborn. So
a little more context with the team
fine.
is it's a 10 team and I won last year. So basically what I'm trying to do is just like fill out my roster to have players that I know are can put up points versus taking like options in the second round of a rookie. And so like for me, it made a total sense to take Mooney, right? But I can see completely see the other side. And
that's totally fair too. Because that's the context, like we were kind of arguing it. I was kind of arguing it in a vacuum versus the 210.
Totally.
Not like as the league winner that has the 210 and I'm just like bolstering my roster with Darnell Mooney as my wide receiver, like 4 or 5 or 6 for, whoever knows with a 10-team league, but neither here nor there. On to the Carolina Panthers. 5-12 last season, win total 6.5. Give me the over.
Oh, look at that.
I think the Panthers could surprise. I would take the over as well. I think the Panthers could surprise.
It's going to be it's going to be 7.
It's going to
be 7. It's not going to be anything more than that.
I could see the Falcons being 7-10, the Panthers being 7-10, and not the Saints being 7-10.
That division might be real compact, and it might be close by default because they're all in a bucket. But go ahead.
That's what I was gonna say. Is I could see the Panthers beating the Saints twice. I could see them beating the Falcons twice, or at least splitting between this whole division.
They always,
like you guys are saying, it's a weak enough division that they could go 500 in their division, and there's 4 wins right there.
Yeah,
so I'm just hoping
more. For fantasy terms, I'm just hoping they put up a ton of points.
3, exactly. Just like play the full schedule too.
48, 41 games, 49, 40, 42 games.
Which are in the cards. And because they were bad last year, they get a pretty easy schedule, right? They're playing
all the terrible teams. Yeah.
And Bryce Young, let's see, I just had to pull it up. To finish the year when he came back in, because he started the year kind of crappy. He got benched for Andy Dalton, right? And then he had a come to Jesus moment on the bench. His fantasy finishes when he came back in: 14, 7, 20, 12, 2, 19, 1. That's pretty damn good, right? For a dude who got benched to come back, that's a high end QB2.
When was QB1? Was that the last week? 17 or 18?
That was week 18. Yeah. In that same Michael Penix shootout game. It was a wild time.
That was a wild time. I mean, that's a nice game for there's not a ton of teams that have a week 18 playoffs, but if you do and you played Bryce Young, that's pretty awesome there.
Sure.
I think this offense is going to be
it makes sense. I don't really remember that happening for Bryce now.
Yeah, it's like
it didn't affect my life whatsoever.
Yeah. But I do think this offense is going to be solid for fantasy, right? I think, Chuba is going to be nice. Bryce Young, we talked about that. But, I think Rico is going to be a really good, that's going to be a nice 1-2 punch. I don't think, you'll feel good about Rico Dottle in your lineup, but I still think it's still going to be more of
not unless something happens to Chuba. Yeah.
Exactly. And then to me, I just think Ted McMillan's going to be peppered. Right. I know there was some coming in. They're like, oh, is he going to be good or whatever? But he got drafted pretty highly. And, outside of that, Adam Thielen, I guess I would say is their second best wide receiver, unless they're trying to, eat squirrels or whatever. And then I'd take Leggett. But, I also think Ja'Tavion Sanders is going to be sneaky good this year because they don't really have much outside of that. in tight end.
They got a couple rejected Notre Dame tight ends and Mitchell Evans and Tommy Tremble. So, and they're mostly blockers. Ja'Tavion Sanders is a good player. The one we didn't mention, Jalen Coker. I think it's very possible he outproduces Xavier Legette this year. I don't think that's super hot takey. I mean, he pretty much did last year in like half the games that Legette played. So, I like Coker. I think he's a good receiving option there, but yeah, dude, I think Ted McMillan's going to get just hammered with targets. We've seen Bryce Young do that, right? He finds a guy he likes and he'll just hammer until. I mean, even if they're covered, like he'll just shut balls over it. Yeah. So Ted McMillan might just feed families this year. So I think I might have some homerism with the Ja'Tavion Sanders, but I think he could be that like number 3 option.
Right, Aller.
So I'm hoping, because I have a lot of him, because he was one of the guys that I was taking later on in rookie drafts last year. So
I liked the film with you on Ja'Tavion Sanders, but after the draft capital, I was like, nah.
Oh yeah,
I'm out. And you stayed in longer than I did, and I wish I had stayed, because I really I let the draft capital tell me I could have had it for cheaper, but you can still get them super late in startups right now.
Oh yeah.
But like the only people that I'm in on, I'm not in on Bryce like you guys are. I'm good. Pass. I understand he had a nice end to the season last year. Prove it to me again throughout a whole season. We'll see. Chuba, Tet, and Ja'Tavion Sanders are the pieces that I'd be interested in. Ja'Tavion, because what we said, super cheap. Tet, the volume is awesome, and we saw Chuba be successful already, within this offense. And Rico Dowdle is not good at football.
I think he's fine. He's a good 1B. He shouldn't have been the guy in Dallas last year. He just shouldn't have been. That's not his role.
He is he's a solid backup running back.
Didn't listen to anything I said, Ron.
He's just below the caliber of Chuba. I might not have.
Jonathan Brooks dead? Do you guys Obviously, he's already out for this year, but is there any hope for Jonathan Brooks?
Listen,
I would say there's hope, because the guys that they have there are. I mean, I'm not trying to say Chuba Hubbard's nothing, but
they signed him to a big deal. They gave him good money.
They did, right?
But up every year, and pretty soon it won't look like a big deal. You know what I mean?
I think, right? So we're not thinking Jonathan Brooks is doing anything next year, right? So
correct.
I'm not thinking we know he's not.
You can already IR him. He's already IR him on sleeper.
So I just think, say he has miraculously really, really good recovery. He, has, works out really well and whatever, right? And then next off season has a really good off season, and then whatever, right? I think it's not out of this realm to say he could surpass Chuba if he has a lot of things need to happen, right? But it's possible, versus him being on a team that has a way better running back, is what I'm trying to say.
I think Chuba's a really good running back. And I think that gets lost a lot. And
I think Chuba is a solid running back.
I think he's a little bit better than solid.
He's solid above average.
Solid, good adjacent. Let's say that.
That's what I yeah.
He produces. I think. I think if anything, Brooks would take over for Uncle Rico, right? More than anything.
So I mean, I was just trying to remind myself of why I'm holding on to some Jonathan Brooks. Really, he's as close as it can get to.
If someone will give me anything for him, I think I would.
Honestly, totally.
If I can get probably be picks for him for sure.
There were
J.K. Dobbins gives me hope for Jonathan Brooks. Not that
I don't want to hold him for 6 years until he's useful. You know what I mean?
Not that his value will ever come back, or like you said.
Well, Dobbins hasn't come back either,
But the value will never come back. I don't think ever for Jonathan Brooks. But there's a point in time where possibly he could be useful. And some of my leagues have IR slots, and I can stick Jonathan Brooks on my IR all year, and it's not going to cost me anything. I'm willing to hold him at that point in time. If it comes down to a point where I have to make a cut decision, and it's Jonathan Brooks, or is it going to be some other seventh round rookie that's going to be cut off my roster anyway? At least this guy has draft capital, and people believed him and believed in him at one point in time.
I think we have a couple Fantasy Effect listener leagues that we don't have IR spots, and I'm 4 spots over right now, and every time I go to my team, I'm not going to decide who I'm cutting right now. We don't have IR spots. I can't move Jonathan Brooks. Like,
Right.
So like those are the situations where I would possibly drop Jonathan Brooks, right? But I'm not.
Sure.
I'm gonna do everything I can to possibly hold on to him because there's still that draft capital and a small chance.
Yeah, and our rosters are big enough that I can usually find somebody else that I can justifiably cut more so than a rookie with his draft capital. At this point in his career, it's an unfortunate series of events, but let's be serious. Like ACLs are not like career enders anymore. And J.K. Dobbins had 2 Achilles, and we saw him be useful.
Yep, I think that's all I was trying to say. Is like it's a possibility, right? I mean, I wasn't trying to say Chuba's no good, but like I just think it's a possibility he comes back and he can be useful. And I think yes, I agree. It's probably going to be Rico, the one that he would overtake. But I just think it's like there aren't these all-world running backs ahead of him that he could squeak out some touches.
You know what? We could all die tomorrow too. I was gonna say something else, like just bring up some other hypothetical situation, and I just this is Kyle Shanahan, this thing straight into the New Orleans Saints, who are probably gonna die tomorrow.
I'm taking the under. I don't know the number, but I'm taking the under.
Under not low enough. Under on 6.5. 6.5.
Honestly, though, it's not low enough. Yeah, give me the under.
Yeah,
I'll take the under as well. Are you guys interested in the volume of Alvin Kamara?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So, quick question for you guys: how many finishes did Alvin Kamara have below a running back 2 last year? So 24 or worse, or 25 or worse, technically.
I think probably
3.
1.
Yeah.
Dang.
And it was running back 33, so it wasn't even like he was that far off, right? And that was in that Broncos Saints. I think it was a Thursday night game where the one
where Cortland Sutton didn't catch any passes.
Yeah, and that thing got out of hand real fast.
I'm so close to just not starting Thursday night players. Like it's so rough.
Honestly, like. We should probably talk about the Saints, but like honestly, I'm almost with you, dude. Like it's almost always just pisses me off, and then the next day I'm just like, damn it, I'm in such a hole for the weekend. Like, just smash.
It's so insane to me that like
all Thursday night stats.
That changing from playing on Sunday to playing on Thursday like throws these dudes' lives off so much that like, oh my god, like we just have like these terrible games.
You normally have like a day off, and then you do like film study, and then you implement the game plan.
Schedule.
You have no.
But this has been years now. This has been years. You guys haven't figured out a good way, like, to just be like, hey, we know we got a Thursday one coming up. Be ready, guys. It's gonna be kind of weird.
I think it's because you can't implement a full game plan in that short amount of time, and you have to run a simpler offense, and guys are still score from Sunday, right?
That's fair.
Yeah. Anyways, I did my projections. I have Alvin Kamara. To answer your question, I have him as like the 3rd highest projected running back. Now that entails him staying healthy, because I don't think highly of Kendre Miller. I don't think highly of Devin Neal. I know some people like him. They have Clyde Edwards-Helaire there. I don't think very highly of that either. Like I think whether it's Spencer Rattler or Tyler Shuck, I think there's going to be a lot of dump offs, right? I think Kamara's just going to have so much volume. It's going to be hard for him to not produce a running back 1, right? And I know he's older, and so he's like unsexy, right? Like people don't want Alvin Kamara; they want whatever young, like RJ Harvey or whoever, right? But Kamara's he's going to produce as long as he's on the field, right?
The RJ Harvey.
And I think that the offense is going to run. It's ironic. I just said the young player in RJ Harvey, who's like the oldest rookie, but like that's the name that came to mind in that range.
Supposedly the Alvin Kamara replacement in a Sean Payton offense as well.
My mind thinks very, very just like caveman. It just made a very logical connection and just moved on.
Do you know who just played for the New Orleans Saints?
Alvin Kamara?
Jamal Williams was just playing for the New
Jamal Williams. He did.
And that's the perfect way to get us back to the Lions. Full circle here, guys, on Fantasy Effect tonight. No, go ahead.
But as far as Kamara, but then like the pass catchers, Olave is the one that we probably should touch on. He has been injured a lot, and I don't think injury prone is necessarily a thing. However, he has had multiple concussions, which is a thing. There's
He's on
data
that
shows that like once you have concussions, like you're more susceptible to them. So there's like some data that supports that one. So I think that's something to keep an eye on.
I do have one argument with that. Derek Carr did retire, so he's got
so less hospital ball. Do you think he's getting less hospital balls from Tyler Shuck and Spencer Rattler?
Nope, I think he's getting more.
No, the reason I think he's gonna have less hospital balls is because they're gonna throw the ball and it's not even gonna get near him, right? So he won't have to worry about it.
Fair.
I get you.
That might be better for his health.
To be honest, like
he's the new Rome Odunze that we can bitch about his uncatchable target percentage next year.
We've been bitching about Chris Olave's uncatchable air yards since he came into the league.
That's true.
Do it again.
Look,
remind me to use that next time we talk about Rome Odunze. That's a good one.
The only player I want out of this group is Alvin Kamara, and I'll just right off into the sunset. I understand about Shaheed, but I just worry with the quarterbacks.
I know he doesn't cost you anything.
He doesn't.
I mean, that part's fair. What is it going to cost me to get him? That's fine.
Like a third.
No, I get it. Yeah.
I'm not going to send
that'd be
I'm not going to send a fake pick for him.
He would be the second option I would want, right? But yeah, like Wes is saying, I'll definitely take Shaheed at cost, right? Shaheed, if I have to move a 26th third for him, I don't know why you would hold on to that, Ron. Like, give me the points that I know are.
What's that 26th third going to do for you?
I don't know that Shaheed's going to score me the points. I don't know how the ACL recovery is going on. I don't know what Kellen Moore is going to do with them, and I don't flipping know if Tyler Shug can get him the dang ball. There's too many question marks.
We pissed them off.
Yeah, we did.
We got strong words coming in from Ron now.
I'll spend it on someone else that's going to score the wide receiver 3 similar points that we've already spoken about tonight. Before the show. This is the Darnell Mooney thing. We'll find someone else that's scoring those same points.
Juwan Johnson's interesting, I think. Not to just totally change the subject on you. I feel like you're like, let's just slowly back away from him. Just slowly back away. No, but Taysom Hill's not there to take away all the touchdowns in the red zone anymore. Juwan Johnson's a big body in the red zone. I don't know how many touchdowns are going to be there to go around for the Saints, but Johnson's a nice option down there. And when you get this far down in the tight end rankings, I mean, you're basically looking at can he score me a touchdown or no, right? Like, that just reminded me because Wes said in the chat about Shaheed.
There's a spelling error in his joke. All right.
I'm not even reading the joke, but if your league has any kind of return yardage, Shaheed is a smash because he returns punts and he returns kickoffs, and he's very good at both.
Well,
I was surprised I was very surprised you left Khalif Raymond. He had the most return yards last year.
I know.
Really?
And
he did.
And you know what? You know who I was taking before he got taken off the board that round? Khalif Raymond, because I figured nobody gave a damn about him.
I was waiting as long as I could go.
He'll come in and he'll catch a touchdown too, and like 50 yards in a game every once in a while.
Yep. Unfortunately, we're not playing best ball.
Every once in a while it happens. Every once in a great while. No, every once in a while they'll throw him out there for a trick play, and everybody forgets he's on the field, and he runs. You know, he's super fast. So
I'm a spot check.
It's over before it starts.
50
real quick though,
every once in a while. I didn't say it's often.
Any hope for Kendre Miller, or is he dead to everybody?
No,
I think there's hope because Dennis Allen's gone. That's the only connection I have there, right? I think there's a little bit of hope because Dennis Allen is gone, and Dennis Allen absolutely hated his guts.
Yeah, he really did. Khalif Raymond had a 73-yard game in Week 6 against Dallas, and he didn't top
randomly
like 39 yards any other time. So technically, you weren't wrong. But KJ Miller, if something happens to Kamara this year, I think that's Miller's path, right? I don't think he's necessarily good, and I think he's going to need just like a ton of volume just kind of fall into points.
His path, or does could he beat out Devin Neal?
Well, Devin Neal sucks too. Like, let's be real about this. Like, Devin Neal,
compared to freaking Kendre Miller, he doesn't.
Is the 7th-round rookie going to make the team over Kendrick Miller, or start getting like
dude?
targets,
Kendrick Miller hasn't been able to pull his head out of his ass this entire time. I keep forgetting about Devin Neal's draft capital, honestly, because I really liked his film.
Yeah, because everyone's just blowing him for no reason, like because they and he was fine at Kansas, but now he's dead. Dude, he's dead to me.
What is Kendrick Miller done? Like, you know what? I'm gonna do the opposite of what I did with Jatavian Sanders, and I'm gonna say that Devin Neal will wind up the running back 2 above Kendrick Miller by the end of the season.
I think it's more likely that CEH will outscore him, but that's fine.
God, I'm not talking about scoring points. I'm talking about on their flipping depth chart.
I am too.
Okay. All right.
I just don't. What is Kendrick Miller gonna? What is Devin Neal gonna do? Is he gonna make the roster? Is he gonna be there? Or is he gonna be on the practice squad?
Like real talk. Of course he's gonna spank you. I just said he'll be their running back 2 by the end of the season. Of course he'll be on the roster.
But number 2 on the practice squad, maybe. But that was too far.
You shut your mouth before I reach through this camera and slap you.
Listen,
I said it and I was like,
like, come on. I just think, if anything, I think CEH will get cut, so I think it might be, but I don't have too much hope for Neal, right? I did until he got drafted in the 7th, right? That's not good. But yeah, no, a lot of people are like, boosting him up. So I have a few shares but I just don't have too much hope. My hope is still, tied to his game. I think there's, we'll see.
Listen, I think if Kendrick Miller were any better than an average running back, he would have been on the field with his piss poor attitude.
Is Devin Neal anything more than an average running back?
He might not be, but he might not have a piss poor attitude about the whole goddamn thing.
Why do you think Miller has a piss poor attitude? What have we seen?
Why did Dennis Allen hate him so much?
Because what do we care what Dennis Allen thinks? He's been fired like 14 times because of Derek Carr. What do we care what he thinks?
I understand that, but Dennis Allen would go out of his way to like shit down Kendrick Miller's throat.
He would.
And like no other player was he doing that to.
He liked it.
So like he clearly was kind of a shithead. And you know who else people were shitting on? Jermaine Burton, who's out here like gambling on the weekends, like hours before games. Because he's doing shithead stuff.
JMO.
Listen, and he does shithead stuff. But you know what JMO does? He also has 1,000 yards receiving on a year. You know what I mean? So that gets you on that can get you on the field. So Kendrick Miller is probably an average running back at best, who's a shithead, who's not going to get on the field because he's an average running back with a shit attitude. So nobody wants to deal with him.
Man,
I'm sorry.
Oh my god!
I hope Kendrick Miller doesn't watch this.
I hope he does. We can talk about it, Kendrick. I also think
there's a new regime there, right? And they brought in Devin Neal. I know they brought him in the 7th round, but I just think I think it's a possibility we don't see Kendrick. I mean, maybe he is misunderstood. Yes, Greg.
I didn't like his tape either.
We misunderstood.
Yeah, I think Greg is just.
Okay,
I was never in on Kendrick at all. So ever at any point.
No, you made that very clear. I did gather that.
I hope anybody listened to the end of this with Greg and Wes.
I'm gonna send you some Kendrick Miller.
I'm gonna need to go back and clip that.
I hope your
boss. That was an all-time rant.
I hope your boss listened to the end.
He might have listened to an epic shithead rant, and that's fantastic.
Hope he comes up to your cubicle tomorrow. He's like, "Hey,
what's up with the shithead talk?"
Is he okay?
Anywho, we should probably end this before it gets any more off the rails. That was the NFC South. We will continue our divisional previews next week. Hopefully there will be less shithead talks or more. I don't know. Maybe people like that. I have no idea. But in any event, thank you for tuning in. Especially if you stayed this long, then
we have a big surprise on coming out for you guys soon.
Yes, we do. So stay tuned for that. And on that note, peace out.